Nearly 2,000 years ago, at the heart of the Roman Republic, a revolutionary event brewed in the shadows. Before the name Spartacus became synonymous with rebellion and freedom, another uprising shook the foundations of Rome, the Vesuvius Insurrection. This is a tale of courage, betrayal, and a desperate fight for liberty, led by gladiators and slaves who dared to challenge the absolute power of the greatest empire of the ancient world. In the region of Campania, famous for its fertility and natural beauty, the imposing Mount Vesuvius loomed large. Yet, in the shadow of this slumbering volcano lay one of Rome's largest gladiator schools, known as the Ludus Nucerianus. Here, men torn from their homelands were trained to entertain the Roman populace with their blood and suffering. Some were prisoners of war, others condemned criminals, and many merely slaves bought and sold as commodities. Within this oppressive context arose the leadership of a man whose name has been eclipsed by time. He was a Thracian named Drasticus, a gladiator whose prowess in the arena was matched only by his charisma and yearning for freedom. Drasticus was no mere fighter. He was a strategist, a visionary who understood that the true battle was not fought in the arena, but against those who kept his people in chains. One night, under the cover of darkness, and with the complicity of several gladiators and slaves, Drasticus set an audacious plan in motion. Using improvised tools, they overcame the strict security measures of the Ludus Nucerianus. The escape was neither silent nor clean. The guards clashed with the gladiators in a violent struggle that left many dead on both sides. Yet, in the end, Drasticus and nearly 200 men managed to escape, vanishing into the forests near Vesuvius. This band of fugitives was not a trained army, nor a unified force. They were desperate men, armed with weapons seized from the guards and driven by a fierce determination to reclaim their freedom. Drasticus, with his arena experience and ability to inspire others, soon became their undisputed leader. Under his command, they began to raid nearby villages for food, weapons, and new recruits. News of their revolt spread quickly, drawing more slaves who fled from their masters to join the cause. Rome's response was swift. The Republic, though powerful, could not allow a group of slaves to challenge its authority. The senators dispatched a force of 3,000 soldiers under the command of a praetor named Gaius Verinius. This general, confident in the superiority of his troops and the inferiority of the slaves, gravely underestimated his enemy. Drasticus proved to be a brilliant strategist. Using the mountainous terrain of Vesuvius to his advantage, he ambushed the Roman troops on several occasions, inflicting heavy losses and weakening their morale. His attacks were not only effective but also psychological. Each Roman defeat sent a message of hope to slaves across Italy. Victory, however, was not guaranteed. Drasticus knew his group could not sustain a prolonged war against Rome's might. They needed a bold plan to secure their long-term freedom. In a council with his closest leaders, he proposed a radical idea: to march south and escape Italy by crossing the sea to Sicily, an island known for its history of slave rebellions. The march south was a monumental feat. The group, now numbering more than 5,000 men, women, and children, faced not only the Roman legions but also hunger, fatigue, and internal betrayals. Despite these hardships, they reached the coast, where they attempted to negotiate with pirates to secure passage to Sicily. But the pirates, seeing an opportunity for their own gain, betrayed them, leaving them trapped at a critical juncture. Meanwhile, Rome intensified its response. The Senate sent Consul Marcus Licinius Crassus, a man renowned for his wealth and ambition, to crush the rebellion. Crassus, learning from his predecessor's mistakes, employed more disciplined and ruthless tactics. He divided his forces and used a strategy of attrition, cutting off the rebel supply lines and forcing them to fight under unfavorable conditions. The final battle took place on the plains at the foot of Vesuvius, where it had all begun. Drasticus and his men, knowing there would be no quarter, fought with desperate ferocity. Although they inflicted significant losses on the Roman forces, the numerical superiority and training of the legions ultimately prevailed. Drasticus fell on the battlefield, surrounded by his comrades, becoming a symbol of resistance and sacrifice. The Vesuvius insurrection was crushed, but its legacy endured. It inspired other slaves to dream of freedom and proved that even Rome's might could be challenged. Drasticus, though forgotten by many, paved the way for future rebellions, including that of Spartacus, who would follow in his footsteps just a few decades later. In the shadows of history, the echo of the insurrection resonated in the hearts of slaves who dreamed of liberty. Each time a gladiator raised his weapon in the arena, each time a slave suffered under the yoke of his master, the spirit of Drasticus lived on. It was a reminder that freedom was possible, that even the humblest could challenge the mightiest. Drasticus's fight was not just an act of rebellion, but also a declaration of humanity. In a world where slaves were treated as property, Drasticus and his men proclaimed with their blood and sacrifice that they too were men, that their lives had value, and that their freedom was non-negotiable. Over time, the Romans attempted to erase this history. Records were destroyed, names forgotten, and lessons ignored. But memory is fertile ground, and though the ashes of the insurrection settled, new seeds of resistance began to sprout. Other slaves rose, other leaders emerged, and the struggle continued. As centuries passed, Drasticus' story was rediscovered by historians and writers seeking to understand the origins of resistance. His name began to appear in ancient documents, his story retold, and his legacy vindicated. Today, the Vesuvius insurrection stands among the great narratives of struggle and sacrifice that inspire us to press on, to never give up, and to always seek justice. The story of Drasticus and the Vesuvius insurrection is not just a forgotten chapter of Roman history, but also an eternal reminder that freedom is an inherent right of all human beings. It teaches us that, although oppressors may seem invincible, there will always be brave souls who rise to challenge them. And in this challenge, in this struggle, lies the true greatness of humanity. If this narration has moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more journeys through the most epic and unknown stories of the past. See you in the next video.